Hey guys, it's Thorin, and I am sitting in my car in a Walmart parking lot um, because I'm too early to meet my friend who is taking me hunting. Um, this is going to be the first time I've gone out, and I'm really, really excited. I'm pretty anxious right now. Um, I don't know, like I feel like I've been preparing for this for a long time, and things kind of kept falling through, and I just wasn't able to go last year. Um, and the way my work schedule is worked out, it just happens that the first day I'm available this year is Halloween, and Halloween just felt like a really appropriate time for my first hunt. Um, so I don't know, like I have a really complex relationship with Halloween. I know the kind of the broader pagan culture, this is sort of when everybody lets it hang out, and um, it's like this Sabbath is the one that seems to attract the most people to witchcraft. I don't know if it's because like Barnes and Noble puts out all of its witch end caps, or if it's just like the witchy kind of kitsch that's everywhere in every store. Um, but it's very in your face this time of year, and that's cool, right? Like the complexity arises because there's this there are these kinds of expectations built up around Halloween, right? Like because it's the witchiest and most magical time of the year, and because it's one of those holidays that even if you're not pagan, like people usually have really strong memories and associations with this time of year. Um, so there's that element of kind of like, this is going to be amazing, right? There's going to be an amazing party, or like, I'm going to get so much candy, or like, this is going to be the best ritual ever. There's just this element of expectation for something just incredible. And my experience has been that that just doesn't happen, right? Like, as a little kid, you get sick and you can't go trick or treating. And like, that is like the biggest bummer when you're sick. Like, that's one of the shittiest things. And then like, the Halloween party that you worked so hard on and, decorated for all day and blah, 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 like people don't show up. And, that costume that you were working on and you had it visualized and it was going to be amazing and just something fell through. And I don't know, like, to me, because the expectations are so high for Halloween, it's really easy to be disappointed. Um, and like the way people talk about witchcraft this kind of year, um, I've talked in the past about kind of that like witch aesthetic that is I don't know, like particularly prevalent, I think, in recent years, especially with like Tumblr and the whole like trad witch versus Wicca thing, right? Where like, oh, skulls and talking to the dead and blah blah blah, and like all that stuff is there, okay, but it really comes to the fore this time of year. So I think even as a witch, there's this feeling that like if you're not descending into the underworld, you're doing it wrong. So there's just a lot of pressure surrounding Halloween. I think especially as a group leader, if you're in charge of somebody else's Halloween experience, right? That's a lot of pressure. Um, so anyway, all that to say that I'm not always sure how I feel about Halloween. I really want to love it, but most of the time it feels like a lot of work. It just feels like a lot of work and a lot of planning, and I don't often get the space to just be in that kind of magical headspace that's conducive to heavy ritual work, um, or even like joy, you know. Um, so this kind of fell into place. One of the guys in my archery club offered to take me hunting a couple of months ago and said we'd work something out. And anyway, I took him up on it. I was really excited to take him up on it. Our club always does a club hunt, but the way it works out with the teacher schedule, I just can't take off half a week, right? So I've never gotten to go. So it was really cool for him to kind of step out and make time in his schedule for me. And I hope I have multiple trips this fall. So anyway, yeah. This time of year really to me focuses on like there's that centrality of the god of the hunt and death and resurrection, and this idea of making it through the winter. And anyway, all of that kind of mythos really fuels my my desire to do this. So and for those of you who have watched this far, and maybe you haven't watched earlier videos, I told you this is my first time out, but I'm from a big city. I'm not from a family that hunts. I have, like, there's nothing in, like, the paper trail of my life that would suggest bow hunting, okay? So this was kind of this process of wanting to, first of all, like, moving to the South a few years ago and sort of acclimating, and I really railed against it when I first got here. It was really a problem. Like, the culture shock was pretty extreme, and I thought I'd made a mistake, and like I was really unhappy for several years. And so this has been kind of this like, it's an assimilation. Like, this is becoming Southern through the process of traditional archery and bow hunting. And it's been really amazing so far. And I haven't even gone out yet. So there's that aspect. And then just being Wiccan, there's this conflict, right? And anytime I talk about hunting in a YouTube video, I always get lots of, like, really, really mean comments, and there's always a bajillion thumbs down. Like, I'll just put the word hunting in the title, and that's the end of it. Like, most of the people who've left the snotty comments haven't watched it at all. And like, that's a thing. Okay, but there's this conflict in Wicca because a lot of people subscribe to this particular version of the what people call the Wiccan Read, where something like hunting just seems really, it's really abject. Okay, the idea that you would kill an animal is, sorry, the light just went out. It's okay, guys, just talking to myself in a Walmart parking lot. It's perfectly normal. Or that's really offensive to people. A lot of people become vegetarians and vegans through the practice of Wicca. I did, actually, for several years. When I was in college, I was a vegetarian and then a vegan. And that had a lot to do with my practice of Wicca. So I get that perspective. But, I mean, the central myth in Wicca has to do with a god of the hunt and a god of death, and this relationship with not just the natural world, but a particular natural world, right? This deciduous forest and these particular kinds of animals and this particular kind of environment, and there's only so much you can do in your fucking living room. Like, I just wanted, it started to feel stupid or like disingenuous or something to talk about a relationship with a horned god of hunting without actually having that experience. Like, it just, I don't know. I wanted a different kind of relationship. I think obviously the gods are more complex than that, and people build different kinds of relationships with them based on different aspects. Right, like that's not the entirety of the myth, but that's the piece that I sort of latched onto, and that's what I wanted to experience for myself. So not to shit on anybody else's, relationship or perspective, but that's kind of where I'm coming from, and that's why I wanted to do this. It's not like, I think people have this idea that hunters are out to kill for the sake of killing, and that it's like me going out there to assert my manliness or something, and that's really not the case. And in my in my hunter education in the last couple of years, and then working with this archery club. I'm on the board of this archery club now. I spend a lot of time with these guys, and we're so different. I mean, they're born and raised Southerners. Most of them grew up hunting and shooting a bow or a gun, and I didn't. Most of them are some kind of evangelical. I'm obviously not. We're very different. There's a huge age gap. I'm one of the youngest people in the club. I'm one of the only women, or at least one of the only women who isn't there to like serve pie. Not that we don't love the ladies with the pies, okay? But like there's a disparity, and working through that has been really significant too. I've come to discover that nobody gives a shit if you're Wiccan, if you're different. Like, that hasn't been an issue. I'm surrounded by these people who, you know, on paper, like, these are the kinds of people who, like, other kinds of other pagans and witches are ranting about on the internet as, like, being bigoted and, like, you know, Southern stereotypes, la la la. Like, these are the dudes in camo, okay, who are gonna vote for Trump, and, like, they've got, like, there are problems, like, don't get me wrong, okay, like, we don't agree on things, but we surpass that where we need to be friends and to work together, and that's really cool. Like, just like the inklings of those kinds of possibilities, just like that gives me hope in people. When you start to see people who are different as people, it becomes a lot easier to build relationships and transcend those kinds of differences. So that's been a really good experience. And being on the board and kind of elbowing, you know, my liberalism in, and like, hey guys, like, let's change the kind of language that you use when you talk to other people. And hey guys, like, have you noticed, like, as a woman, this is what I see. And anyway, it's been good. So it's been a process, but the stereotype that people have of Southern hunters isn't accurate, like, by a long shot. Hunting is, I've talked about this in other videos, so I won't go on. Also, I need to get on the road now. We're getting close. But hunting is intimately linked with environmentalism. The environmentalist movement in the United States comes out of hunting. If you want to look at the national park system, et cetera, like these are born, if you think about it, hunters are the people who directly have the most investment in the health of the local environment. Here in the South, the deer population was, there have been a lot of problems, right? Just over the decades, there have been periods where deer were really struggling, and, you know, we're pretty heavily threatened in this area just because of no natural predation and, you know, starvation and sickness. And then now there are issues of overpopulation. So hunting really regulates that in really critical ways. So, and I don't know, like, there's a pretty strong sense of ethics that goes into being a hunter, at least from what I've seen here. So getting to explore that has been significant, and it's really impacted me, and my practice of Wicca. So good stuff. Anyway, it is very unlikely statistically that I will be successful today. It's unlikely that I will even see deer the first time out. So we'll see. This is going to be a lengthy process, especially as a traditional archer. I'm shooting with a longbow, no sights, nothing, etc., etc. So I have to be significantly closer than the typical person with a compound bow or with some kind of rifle or shotgun. So it's considerably more challenging, as, you know, at least if the people who I hunt with are any indication, reading, etc., etc. So we'll see. There's value in the doing beyond just being successful. So we'll see. I'm sure I'll have a lot to say about this later.